surprisingly, but it's very precise, and it's always related to the gods of the water, the gods of the mountains, and everything that keeps things going on, training happening, life happening, keeps things going on, training happening, and everything that keeps things going on, training happening, life happening. So yeah, different.
So in the images that were white, what were the depictions? What were the depictions of? Did they mirror the elements of a codices, or were they more enigmatic in terms of having various elements or animal? The elements of a codices? Did they mirror the depictions of? Did they mirror the did they mirror the elements of a? Did they mirror the elements of a codices, or were they more enigmatic in terms of having various elements or animal human figures? Various elements or animal human figures. Which was it?
Okay, now we are talking about the Pintado, which is my first investigation in the master's degree, and in that place, they all resemble codex. We have deities. We have deities, we have human figures, we have deities, we have human figures, we have processions and elements of ritual elements, people like doing things together. And we also have people like doing things together. And we also have a lot of moons, which could be interpreted as interpreted as stars and suns. Yeah.
So you could almost read the rock. So you could almost read the rock art in that way, could you not, or no?
I felt that I could. Maybe I was mistaken, but
but because it was so rich and so codified, they talk about some of the rock art that I work with is far more enigmatic and mysterious and difficult to understand.
But you don't have historical notes to move or to consult. Yeah,
yes, but you have the history and plus the codices. And were these related to the codices?
In this case, we are lucky.
And were these related to the were these related to the were these related to the Aztec? And were these related to the Aztec people, the Nahuatl?
Yeah, Nahuatl culture. Yeah, it was created by them. Maybe not the Aztec, because the Aztecs were like a small tribe. That belonged to that huge Nahuatl culture. But yeah, some other groups that were living in other groups that were living in that area. Yeah. So that was my master's investigation and my first approach to Mexican.
And what did you conclude in your master's investigation about that particular? And what did you conclude in your master's investigation about that? Concluding your master's investigation about that particular site?
Well, I thought I came to the conclusion that the rock art was related with some ceremonial parties that can be traced on codexes, and mostly related to the deities of the water, and to thank the death for the maintenance of life in the real world, in the human world.
So very clearly a metaphor, almost like a visual prayer, as I put it. A prayer.
Yeah, that is perfectly described. Yeah, perfect. That is perfectly described. Yeah, perfect. That's right.
What? And it had to do with water. And it had to do with what? And it had to do with life, and it had to do with, I presume, death as well.
Yeah, because in Mexican cultures, in Nahuatl culture, they believe that water was created. They believe that water was creating the center of inside Nahuatl culture. They believe that water was creating the center of inside of the mountains. The mountains were containers for water, and inside of those mountains, the death will go, and they will become the masters of life somehow. They could push life out to the mountains, And for example, if you were hit by lightning during a storm.
Yes.
For example, if you were hit by lightning during a storm,
Yes.
you will die, and then you will
Yes.
become a Tlaloque, which is a server of the god Tlaloc, and you will ride the clouds, so the rain could reach different regions of the area. So yeah, that is very beautiful. Of the area. So yeah, that is of the area. So yeah, that is very beautiful. The relationship between life and death is so beautiful. I'm in love with that. It's very different from our cosmovision.
Right. What elevation or was that particular cave, that rock shelter that you studied there? Cave, that rock shelter that you studied there on that mountain.
Well,
First one for your master's thesis. First one for your master's thesis.
It was in a place called Hueyapan. It was in a place called Hueyapan. It's very close to the Popocatépetl. It's very close to the Popocatépetl volcano. And it was situated in a I don't know how to say that in English.
Was it high up? Was it low? Was it mid elevation?
No, it was in a river, you know.
Yeah.
It was situated in a river, you know. In a river. In a river, you know. It was situated in a river, you know.
Yes, it's near a river.
Yeah, in a river. So it was. I don't remember the word in English right now. Can you believe
Okay.
that?
Okay. So after you did your
in a canyon, sorry.
in a canyon, yeah. So,
it was situated in a river, you know.
yes, it's near a river.
Yeah, in a river. So it was. I don't remember the word in English right now. Can you believe
Okay.
that?
Okay. So after you did your
in a canyon, sorry.
in a canyon, yeah.
In a river, you know. In a canyon, sorry. In a canyon, sorry. In a canyon, sorry. And it was situated in a river, you know. River, you know. In a river, you know. In a canyon, sorry.
In a canyon, yeah. So after you did your master's thesis, and what year was that? Do you remember? So after you did your master's thesis, and what year was that? Do you remember?
2011. Yeah. 2011. 2011. Well, it was 12 years ago. I came back to Spain. Yeah, I came back to Spain and tried to find a job here. Didn't succeed. So I went back to Mexico and studied my PhD degree. Yeah, I was accepted in the National Autonomous University again, and that was a gift, of course.
Great. And so then you began your PhD research. Which was the next...
I began in 2013. I began in 2013.
I see. Well, let's hold it there. That'll be the. Let's hold it there. Let's hold it there. I see. Let's hold it there. That'll be the first segment of the 3-segment interview. And during the next segment, we'll move along and find out. About your PhD efforts. How's that?
Perfect.
Good. Yeah. Perfectamente.
Me encanta la idea.
Yes. See you on the flip-flop. See you on the flip-flop, gang. Thanks. See you on the flip-flop, gang. Thanks. Welcome back, gang. We're here at the Archaeology Podcast Network, doing the Archaeology Podcast Network, doing the Rock Art Podcast, and we're with Elena, Dr. Elena, Dr. Elena, soon to be, and soon to be, and she's going to talk about her PhD dissertation research. Elena, kick it off.
Okay. So after having finished my master's degree, I decided that after after having finished my master's degree, I decided that it was high time I was investigating a vast area, because when you focus on only one shelter, you don't see the whole picture. So I decided that I was going to study in a place called Tepoztlán, which is situated about 60 kilometers, about 60 kilometers, 70 kilometers far from Mexico City, southeast, so in the state of Morelos. And I decided that because during my previous investigation, I had seen the mountains of Tepoztlán, and I thought, oh, those mountains look pretty special to me, so there must be rock art in there, So I went there and I did discover several places, and I thought I was going to find more. Little did I know that I was going to find more than 30 places in those mountains.
Wow.
Yeah, that hadn't been previously. That hadn't been previously recorded.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how did those places differ from your masters? Were they also similar, or were they very different? Similar, or were they very different?
Some of them are very similar, whereas other. Some of them are very similar, whereas others are very different. This is very interesting.
Please,
so
tell us a bit about these images.
I am there, and I find that there are a lot of places. Yeah, there are many different types.
Please.
So I found that I am there, and I find that there are a lot of places. I found that I am there, and I find that there are a lot of places.
Tell us a bit about these.
Of places.
Tell us a bit about these images.
Yeah, there are many different types. There are many different types. There are many different types of places. Different types of places. Types of places. I found places from different periods of time, different magnitude, different height, different size. And different size. Different size, and I find places, so I need to come up with a solution for that. So I realized that there are some different places. I call one of them locals, which are the places in which the motifs are very small. Motifs are very small, about 20 centimeters, 30 centimeters much. The human figure is hardly ever represented, whereas there are other places, big. The human figure is hardly ever represented, is hardly ever represented, hardly ever represented, hardly ever represented, is hardly ever represented, whereas there are other places, big. And when I say big, I mean like 6-7 meters, like the sculpting Dadovics. And
wow.
In those, the human figure is really important. They reach the meter, in size, and there are a lot of motifs. And more importantly, there are many. And more importantly, there are many periods of time in which those places were repainted and painted again. So yeah, I would say that there are two main different types. Of places, local and the ones I call monumental places.
I see. Now, did both of those, were they more abstract or were they more real? Were they more abstract or were they more realistic? Were they easier to read or more difficult to read?
I would say that it depends on the period of time.
To read.
I would say that it depends on the period of time. On the period of time they come from. So in order to be able to determine the period of time in which the art was created, I came to other places that were in the area. For example, Chalcatzingo. Chalcatzingo is a very important archaeological site that has been studied over the time by many super amazing investigators like Michael Smith, by many super amazing investigators like Michael Smith, Alex Apostolides, or now it is being investigated by Julio Amador. I don't know if you know him.
Name's familiar, by the way. Yeah.
Oh, his working rock art is. His working rock art is. Is amazing. Honestly, I totally admire his work. So is amazing. Honestly. It's amazing. Honestly, I totally admire his work. So he in Chalcatzingo in Chalcatzingo. So in Chalcatzingo, there are some other archaeological things that can be traced back in time. So I took from Chalcatzingo some of the motifs in order to give a period of time chronology to the vast amount of different types, styles, and motifs that I discovered in my area. So that's what I did. Because depending on the period of time in which the art was created, the iconography varies a lot, and the type of motifs are very different.
And what did you conclude from your research in terms of the function of these sites or their ages and the character of what they're trying to communicate?
Oh, that is a very beautiful question, because I think that only when you are related with the mountains and nature, you are able to really understand how important water is, So what I realized is that it didn't matter whether the places were big, monumental, or locals. The most important thing important thing that they were related to were either a cavity in the walls or water in the walls or water, source of water, either seasonal or water, source of water, source of water in the walls, source of water, either seasonal or perennial walls or water, source of water, walls, source of water, either seasonal or perennial, So, for example, in the local small places, you will find cannons, dogs, find cannons. You will find cannons, dogs, moons, and stars, mostly. Those are the most represented motives. But they are always really close to a source of water, really close to them. So when you're walking in the mountains and you're thirsty and it is hot, and you find this perennial water, of course you want for this place to be visited by the gods that are allowing that water to exist in that place. So in my opinion, the selection of the places was not based on the quality. In my opinion, the selection of the places was not based on the quality of the rock, for example. The selection of the places was not based on the quality of the rock, for example, which is mostly hard and horrible rock to paint in. It's not, a plain wall, but a plain wall, a plain wall, a plain, a plain wall. But they were selected based on that, on the presence of water or cavities, because in Mexico, or cavities, because in the Mexican religion, Nahuatl religion, it was Nahuatl religion, it was thought that cavities allow people to communicate with the underworld that I mentioned before. So you could ask them to be there and to bring more water, to bring more water.
So these cavities are what we might call, these cavities are what we might call portals and connections, tethers, conduits to another world, and this was a means of connecting to the supernatural beings, correct? To the supernatural beings, correct?
Yeah, totally. They are even today. Yeah, it's totally correct. Even today, there are los tiemperos. Yeah, it's totally correct. Even today, there are los tiemperos. For example, are ritual specialists that go to those cavities and leave an offering so that the rain is going to come. And
Wow.
for example, in another, and this is done every year in El Popocatépetl volcano, in Tepoztlán, in other places, and in San Andrés de la Cal, which is a town in Tepoztlán, in the municipality of Tepoztlán.
Yeah.
They do the aires representation. Is like the winds, rituals. Yes, because they do believe that in the cavities you can find winds that have power, good or evil. So every year they bring offering to those winds in the cavities. Yeah.
Are there any
bring offering to those winds in the cavities. Yeah.
Are there any ceremonies or dances or other things that are done in the nearby cities or towns? In the nearby cities or towns that relate to these particular powers or deities or associations?
Yeah, I would say that when they bless the seed, they go to the mountains, for example. In Tepoztlán, there is a very particular mountain called Tlacatepetl, which means the mountain of the men or the hill of the men.
Okay.
In the neighborhood of Santa Cruz, they believe that the Tlacatepetl is a person. Has personality, and that mountain is taking care of the neighborhood. So every year, again in May, it's the same period of time for all the ceremonies. When the rain is about to come, they bless the seeds. They bless the seeds. But before doing that, they climb the mountain and they dress a cross, and decorate the cross with flowers, and there are a lot of dances. There are, for days and days, they dance and they conduct a ceremony in el barrio de la Santa Cruz. Yeah, it's a very beautiful ceremony. It used to be my neighborhood, so
is that a syncretic phenomenon? So that they're
I enjoy that.
Is that a syncretic phenomenon? So that they're joining the native ideology with Catholicism because of the cross, or not?
Yeah. Well, the cross is present in the pre-Hispanic religion as well. So
okay.
The cross is present in the pre-Hispanic religion as well. So
okay.
I don't know what comes first, if a reinterpretation of the cross maybe, or maybe they are using cross different interpretations, different interpretations, different interpretations or different meanings for that. But of course, the religion is present. The church, every neighborhood has a church, and the church conducts a lot of ceremonies, and everything is done around the church. So it's like the temple, yeah. So I do think that, yeah. So I do think that there are many things that have been integrated together in terms of Nahuatl religion and Catholic religion, of course. Catholic religion, of course.
That's very fascinating to me. I'm Catholic, and I've been studying Mesoamerican religion. In fact, we have a book coming out that just came out. We have a book coming out that just we have a book coming out that just came out this month, and it's about the iconicity of the Utah Aztecans, chasing, sort of reconstructing it from, sort of reconstructing it from its beginnings and 4,000, 5,000 years ago, and moving from Eastern California to the American Southwest into the high cultures of Mexico. And we look at it through symbolism, specifically emphasizing the role of the serpent vis-a-vis how that is depicted and used as a means of, as a conduit for life, as a conduit for life, regeneration, and water.
And do you have a serpent? With horns?
In the American Southwest, yes. In the American Southwest, they have a serpent that has horns. The serpent that we have in Eastern California is decorated with quail plumes.
Oh my, like it's a coatl.
Right. And it's sort of a headpiece. And you would probably be tickled to read. And you would probably be. And you would probably be tickled to read a bit about what we've done, and I'll be happy to send you a copy of the book. And then I have another one relating to this. Animal human figures. It's surprising. More than surprising. It's gobsmacking, if you want to use that word. I'm in Bakersfield right now, which is in the bottom of the southern San Joaquin Valley in what you might call Southern California. I'm only an hour or two away from the western Mojave Desert. There's an area there called Coso, and I've been visiting it for about 50 years. And in a canyon there, the major canyon that's available to public visitation. There is a panel, a picture of what we feel is a communication, a storyboard of the creation of the world to the ancient Utah Aztecans. It's similar to the creation story among the Huichol and also amongst the Aztecs or the Nahuatl. And it has to do with the four pilgrims and the lunar goddess and
The caves.
the lunar goddess and the individuals who are going to the mountain to create the sun. And the story goes that they do that. When sacrifices themselves. And after they do that, the sun is. And after they do that, the sun is not tethered high enough in the sky, and they've got to push up the sky. So there's a depiction of these four or five individuals pushing up clouds, and they form a cloud serpent, if you will, or rain. So, but that's all on this small sort of triangular boulder there in Little Petroglyph Canyon. Now that same boulder there in Little Petroglyph Canyon. Now that same creation story. Now
that is amazing.
That same creation story. That same creation story is also in southern Texas, in a huge panel, a painting that's done by Carolyn Boyd. It's a book that's done by Carolyn Boyd. It's a book on the White Shaman cave, and she is the one that sort of inspired me to begin to understand. Mesoamerican theology and cosmology. And I've been publishing with a gentleman who teaches at Guanajuato University. His name is Tirthamuka Abadai, and he has written a couple of articles, and he has written a couple of articles, and now this 70,000 word book. 70,000 word book. So I've been down to Mexico. I've been down to Mexico several times, mainly to the peninsula, but also now mainly to the peninsula, but also now to the mainland to be a guest scholar with him.
Oh my.
So, and my esposa para siempre is a my esposa para siempre is a my esposa para siempre is a Tejana mamacita. So she's from Texas, and I'm learning everything I can about Mesoamerican culture. And of course, I'm a passionate Catholic that lives in Bakersfield, where the majority of the people are Mexican. Where the majority of the people are Mexican. We've got more than 50%. We've got more than 50% Mexican. And when you go to the church, they have one service for English. They have one. The church, they have one service for English. They have one service for English, and I don't know, 5 or 6 for the Spanish service. So 6 for the Spanish service. So there's tremendous Mexican Spanish culture all around me, which is fascinating and wonderful. And I never thought I would be as connected. To Mexico and Mesoamerica as I am, and continuously learning so much. I think it also relates to my study of the Guadalupana, the Virgen de Guadalupe, and understanding the significance of that.
The Madrecita, yeah, of course.
Yes. Well, we've used up the second one.
Yes.
We've used up the second one.
Yes. It
flew by.
Yeah.
See you in the flip-flop, gang. We'll go to the third.
Okay, see you in the
Flop gang, we'll go to the third.